Bienvenidos, figuras, a su podcast de Furtsports Podcast. En esta ocasión tenemos la oportunidad de platicar con un amigo, un socio comercial de Furtsports Academy, que nos va a platicar de su producto, un producto innovador que irrumpió en el mercado de la portería y que la gente no tenía pensado que podía existir este producto. La marca se llama Furtsports, el producto es el Penta y él es Bryan James. La plática va a ser en inglés para poder hacerlo más fácil para Bryan. Cualquier duda o comentario, como ya saben, en las redes sociales nos pueden hablar. So, Bryan, thank you for being here. It's an honor. How Mexico is treating you?
Love Mexico. Been here many times. Certainly a treat to come to your center and see how you guys not only are using Penta, but how you guys do business and how you are kind of training the next generation of football and goalkeeper athletes in Mexico. Really enjoying the experience. I had a tour with you last night and got to see some action.
And we have 2 more days, right?
We have 2 more days and looking forward to seeing the rest of the facilities. And enjoying it.
Perfect. So, as every podcast that we do, Bryan, please tell us your background. So, talk about
this is a lot easier.
Yeah, it's easier.
Okay, cool. So I'm a unique entrepreneur in that I've stayed focused on the inflatables market for over 25 years. I started at a very young age getting into the kind of party business side of the inflatables, toboggans and bouncy castles, bouncy houses, and things of that nature.
And you were working in a company, or you was your company?
I started with my brother, very much a family business, started my own business. It goes back kind of into the UK in that the bouncy castle was invented in the UK, and my parents being English, so we had exposure at very young age, 5, 6, 7 years old. And then, of course, we brought some of the very first inflatable attractions, if you will, to Toronto, to Canada, where I'm centered and where I've lived most of my life.
Okay.
And then, from that experience and building an attractions business in that space, I realized I had a knack for designing and building and repairing all of these types of products. And I pivoted that into kind of commercial grade manufacturing of products.
Okay.
And that led into building kind of another new category in inflatables, which came online in around 2010 for the action sports business.
Okay.
Snowboarding, BMX, this kind of thing.
The ones that they put after they do the jump, right?
Yeah, exactly. Athletes that jump into large inflatable airbag type products
For training.
For action sport training.
That was your company with your brother?
No, it was a company that I was affiliated heavily with, and I was a producer for and a distributor for in the early stages of their beginning. There was a company called Bag Jump.
Okay.
They're still very active, and they're one of the premier companies in the action sports space for training athletes in action sport.
Okay.
But of course, my aha moment came when I said to myself, why am I getting involved with these massive structures that take a lot of energy, effort to produce and build and deploy in certain venues for a relatively small market, which is action sport.
Okay.
And then I said to myself, well, let's switch that around and make small inflatable airbags for the largest market, which is football and certainly goalkeeper training. And of course, you being a career goalkeeper and knowing that you're training in the goalkeeping space, you know that goalkeeping is a sport inside of the sport of football.
Yeah,
right?
It's a different sport.
It's like an extreme sport, really. So that was where the tide came in for me, where I said to myself, these athletes are doing pretty crazy maneuvers, even though you're not using like a jump like you would in some kind of action sport or something like that. There's a lot of repetitious extreme maneuvers and diving and athletic awareness and aerial awareness that a goalkeeper needs when they're jumping and doing these kinds of dives. So.
But the first part, the extreme sports, when they do that interval to practice, it was new in the market, right?
It was. Yeah, we broke the market. Certainly bag jump and the leadership at bag jump kind of broke into we're the early adopters and
before
innovators.
Before that, trained.
Before that, there were some foam pits. They used foam.
Yeah, I remember.
They used like foam pits and that's kind of like the old school way of doing things now with foam, and it's very messy and dirty, and foam deteriorates and it has bugs in it.
And bugs,
and it's just a bit of a mess. So it was a perfect kind of circumstance where inflatable technology came along, the technical fabrics were advancing, the construction techniques were advancing. People like me who had spent decades in the business learning and how we had new techniques on manufacturing and how we might assemble these things and make them stronger, because of course you need a certain strength of technical fabric and assembly for the extreme sports. There's boards involved, there's bikes involved, and things like that. So it enabled us with Penta and with Furtsport to kind of reimagine it and say, well, what would it look like if we could make an ultralight product like this that packs up into a bag or into a suitcase, and it can travel with the team, or it can be highly portable. It can go in the back of a car.
Yeah.
It can weigh 50 pounds, which is exactly what we do. So that's exactly what Penta weighs. I mean, and adding some of the new technology with like lithium-ion batteries, for example. 10 years ago, they weren't quite as advanced, right? So, and now we have really highly advanced lithium-ion battery technology. So it allows us to drive the inflation device, the blower that goes inside of the product that keeps it inflated. We can do that in a very portable way with using battery technology.
So we talk about inflatable castles, then safety nets for the extreme players.
Yeah.
Explain to us what is Penta, so everybody understand it
absolutely
in an easy way.
So Penta fundamentally is an athlete wellness product. And that's kind of the category that we're creating within team sports. And we had referenced action sports. Action sports and extreme sports are very much an individual sport where the individual is judged, like the X Games and the Olympic Games and things like this. But the vision with Penta was to create a product that enhanced and created a safety system for athletes inside of team sports. And Penta is, even though we're penetrating the market initially with the football business, the European football. I'm Canadian, I'm /American, so a lot of people call it soccer, and I know in Mexico it's football. It's kind of both. It's more Spanish speaking. Penta is essentially an athlete wellness product. It is for enhancement of muscle memory. For athletes, it allows what I would consider an athlete to deprogram the part of their brain that has them freezing. We watch it often with goalkeeping, where there's a set piece happening, like a free kick, and the ball is heading towards the top corner, and the goalkeeper almost watches it go in. They gaze and they watch the ball go into the top corner. They freeze, and it's because your body keeps the score, right? Your body knows that for that microsecond or that nanosecond, and that's all it takes, right? If you freeze and you don't have that reaction time and that muscle memory, you're going to let the ball go in, and it's often the difference between like a fingertip save or just missing the ball or something of that nature. So the vision and the mission with Penta is to help athletes not only improve their muscle memory, but increase that kind of reactivity and that reaction speed by deprogramming that part of their brain that has them freezing, so they can react and in a training environment, much like what they do in action sports. And we're taking this sports psychology and we're moving it right over directly from action sport to team sport, because action sport athletes, they have to do these, crazy maneuvers, 40 feet in the air, spinning off axis. They only get one shot to land it, right? So the consequences are much higher.
Yes.
But also it's the same concept, and they have to do thousands of repetitions to get the perfection, right? So just like a goalkeeper can do thousands of repetitions, of course, the consequence is a lot less, but over time that wears and on the athlete's body, on the shoulders, on the elbows, on the hips. We know in the women's game, which is growing like crazy certainly in North America, in the world globally, but certainly in North America, women goalkeepers are 7 times more likely to sustain injuries in training and in games. And that's just physiology, right? They have a different center of gravity. Their hips are contacting often before their shoulders contact, and then there's a consequence for that. So another kind of fun stat that I've discovered and unearthed along the way is goalkeeping in general. Goalkeepers are 80% of the injuries happen in training. And of course, you would know that running a training academy. Or you'd have a sense of it anyway.
Because in the game, you have too much contact with the ball. Exactly.
And I mean, you train a lot more than you play, right? Especially if you're serious about the game, you train a lot more than you play. So 80% of injuries happen in training. So when you take some of those metrics and you say, okay, well, how can we increase, as I had mentioned before, how can we increase that muscle memory, extending the reach of the athlete, the explosiveness on their diving, their ability to be able to read balls at pace and integrate that the speed of the ball coming at them and timing of their jump, and much like an extreme sport athlete, their aerial awareness, right? What we say is proper diving techniques inform a proper landing technique. And from training the juniors that diving and landing on the ground as a goalkeeper is kind of goalkeeping 101. Like, you're getting the very youngest set used to how they can tumble and fall. But when you start getting into those higher levels, into the teenagers and into the the D1 athletes and the professionals, you create a circumstance where that's quite dangerous. You're jumping potentially 5, 6, 7 feet in the air, sideways, full extension diving. So it's a lot less about how you're going to land, because you've learned that from the beginnings of your career, and a lot more about the nuances of how you're going to be able to parry the ball and contact the ball and make the game-winning save,
and repetitions,
and getting in all those reps. It's always about reps, right? When you're talking about athletics, it's often putting in the work, putting in the time, putting in the reps. And there's a minority of people. There are a minority of people and coaches out there that say, "Oh yeah, well, what happens if you take the bag away and you're going to make people soft?" And I think that that's an inaccurate way to look at it. I really do feel that the concept of no pain, no gain doesn't apply in this type of athletic training. No pain, no gain certainly applies if you're lifting weights. You need to feel the pain and get the gain. But in the context of doing these types of extreme athletic dives, these game-winning saves, and training the repetitions, the pain can lead to massive injury. The pain does not help. The pain does not protect. It doesn't help the coaches protect the asset so that they're match fit.
Yeah.
So this is what we're doing with
So
Penta.
I understand perfectly the product, the Penta. So to the people to understand what is the product, can you describe it with your? We're gonna put it in the video, but
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it certainly. It is a. I mean, inflatables in general have always been a bit of a visual business.
We're gonna put it in the video, but
Yeah.
somebody hearing us in Spotify or something like that.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I would encourage everyone and all the listeners to check out the website, futuresport.com. And you'll certainly see many videos on the Instagram. The product is the name Penta actually describes a little bit of the product in that we derived Penta from the geometric shape pentahedron.
Okay.
And a pentahedron is a 5-sided geometric shape. So Penta is loosely based off of a 5-sided geometric shape. There's a main landing surface and a back landing surface and 2 side surfaces and a bottom surface.
Okay.
So that equals 5 sides. So that's where Penta comes from. And of course, we also use 5 in the sport. The traditional soccer ball tile has a pentagonal shape to the to the soccer tile.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of the times, goalkeepers, the traditional team setup is, there's a first and second and third string goalkeeper. So often there's 4 goalkeepers on a squad and the goalkeeper coach. There's 5, most goalkeepers, and the good ones anyways, have 5 fingers on their hands, and 5-a-side football. And so the 5 with Penta really kind of rang true and just kind of resonated. So, but the product itself is essentially like, I don't want to diminish it by saying crash mat, but like the closest proxy to what it is essentially a crash mat for lateral diving. But it's an air-filled, if I'm going to get super technical with you, it is a pneumatic impact attenuation device. And I know that's a big mouthful in English, but it means it's an air-filled envelope that resembles a crash mat that somebody can land on, and it catches their impact in a super soft way.
And you can travel with them.
And that's the benefit and the nature of inflatables all over again is their portability. The portability, and of course with the adding of the option to have lithium battery powered inflation, it's super disruptive. Like you can just like bust it out of the back of a car and train pretty much anywhere. Without needing to plug it in anywhere or use a generator.
Perfect. That's the product.
Yeah.
On your experience.
Yeah.
I can talk about our experience using the Penta.
Sure.
But your experience, how did coaches use the Penta?
Well, certainly it depends on their skill level and who they're coaching. What I will say is, firstly, I'm a product guy. I'm not a coach. So what do you experience? Certainly I can speak to what I've seen coaches do. But I'm the gear nerd, I'm the product nerd, but speaking from that position and seeing how coaches have been able, it's kind of fascinating to watch coaches work with it because they're every bit as creative with the product as I was to create the product. Do you know what I mean? And Penta means different things to different skill levels. So the very junior coaches and athletes will focus on just getting over the initial fear. Like for a small athlete and child, it's scary to dive and leap into the air and just hope and have faith that you're going to land and be okay, right? Yes. So there's the very initial beginnings of like sports psychology for the young set, and so coaches will just almost gamify the use of Penta and just play small little toss games with the younger set, just to get them used to jumping and laterally diving, and then moving through into the kind of intermediate and the teenager heading into varsity. It really does become an engaging product for them to get creative with, but also get targeted on those
movements,
on the movements, and also it works surprisingly well in a rehab scenario. So if you have like a junior athlete that's coming off of a shoulder injury, for example, just using Penta to just really get back that confidence,
get back in the confidence of training,
get the confidence in training, and just test out the waters, right? So instead of having to like be injured, having some kind of shoulder injury or elbow injury, and then you re-injure right away after being off, it allows you a lot more leeway to be able to explore post-injury rehab training and easing into training. So that's one whole subset, the rehab subset of how coaches utilize the product in through the higher levels. And then of course there are just some spectacular trainings that I've seen. Certainly, I was recently in the UK. I was with Coach Aiden, who trains the Wrexham first team, and man, to watch the highest level athletes just fly through the air
and use it
with ease, and they were doing more complex kind of hurdle jumping. So they were doing like leg loading hurdles, and then their final jump was just maxing out full top bins
over the Penta.
Saves and landing on the Penta. And yeah, it's just a treat to watch, top flight athletes and coaches just take to the product like kind of like a duck to water. You know?
So for us, we have a like youth academy almost to varsity. As you say, in different ages, we use the Penta in different styles.
Sure.
Different training. But the beautiful part of this is that we can focus on the technical part of leaping up or flying for the ball.
Yeah.
Because they understand if they land bad or if they jump with another feet.
Yeah.
Because they see how they land in the Penta. If you land in the Penta wrong, you will land in the floor wrong.
Yeah.
You can get hurt.
Yeah.
So for us, the technical side as a coach is better because you can see how the goalkeeper is landing and taking off.
Sure.
That's the part that we take the most advantage of this product. The other part will be the little ones.
Sure.
If they have fun jumping as a goalkeeper,
sure,
and you can teach them to land good, they start loving the game. They start loving the position. So for us, I understand that many coaches can talk about that you're growing your goalkeeper soft, but that's not exactly the truth or the 100% truth, because I can tell you can have both trainings. You're gonna have landing on the floor, and you can have the other one landing in Penta. And most of right now here in Mexico, we have turf fields.
Sure.
Turf fields are very hard,
especially in the cold.
Yeah. And we have a lot of high school goalkeepers that their hips are very bad because they train in turf. So they get very, very hurt.
Bruised, scraped, yeah.
Exactly. So I understand that you have to train the real situation, but you have to get reps to teach the technical side.
Well, of course, and it goes without saying. Why are you training? You're training for match day, theoretically, right?
Yeah.
So, when I say athlete wellness, what I really mean is preservation of the physical form, right? You want to get the benefits of the training. You want to get the benefits of loading your muscles and extending and expanding your reach, but you want to eliminate the consequences of injury and pain in the training, in the 80% of the training element.
You have to go
so that you keep you keep match fit most of the time. And never really has it been more obvious with goalkeeping. I would argue in any kind of sport, in that it's understood that it's a sport within a sport, but the goalkeepers do, in their training specifically, take a lot of abuse. So like how can we remove a lot of that abuse? And we're finding that Penta is working quite well.
Nice.
I mean, you're working with it, and I guess I would offer another angle for you guys, and I don't know if you've explored this, but to capture video, if you're watching the footwork of the goalkeeper, the youngsters, before they take off, you can capture video and sit down in the post training room with the athletes and say, look, we get to analyze how you behave when you're completely let free, because this is how you're going to behave in a game. But you can do it time and time and time again without the consequence of injury. Now let's dial in those motor skills and the details, and then we can take it to the Penta. And then in a game, you practice the reps, and in a game, and let's face it, in a game, you're so jacked with adrenaline anyway that you're going to jump and dive. And it's not that you can't handle jumping 3 feet or 4 feet one way or another, or any athlete can't, a few times. It's the compounding, it's death by 1,000 cuts. You know what I mean? Like, it's the compounding of all of those that affect the long-term health of the athlete, right? So this is what we're really eliminating with using Penta.
Nice. And Penta right now, which countries are?
Okay, so obviously Mexico. We're here in sunny Monterrey,
Furtsports Academy.
Furtsports Academy. So I have the Penta in the U.S., in a few states in the U.S., in California, in Kansas, I think, Wichita, Kansas, in Connecticut, in Kentucky, in Georgia.
In Dallas?
Soon to be in Dallas, yes.
In Texas. You told me in Texas.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dallas is in Texas.
Yeah, but I don't remember it was Dallas or
it's actually it's an academy that has multiple locations.
Okay.
At any rate, also over into the UK, and then there's a handful of academies there. Certainly starting to break into some of the bigger named clubs as well. Some of the ink isn't dry yet on those deals, so I won't get into too many details, but let's put it this way. It's being enjoyed on both ends of the spectrum. It's being enjoyed by people who are training very young, aspiring athletes, and is being enjoyed by professional athletes and professional coaches.
Oh, nice.
And I'm starting to populate Central Europe as well. I've got academy in the Balkans and a couple of academies in Germany, and a couple of goalkeeping, I guess I would say goalkeeping, like sports tech partnerships that I'm looking at in Central Europe. So yeah, definitely it's a process of education, because this product we're creating a category. So it didn't exist prior. I mean, the concept of a crash mat, of course, existed, but I'm sure you can speak to the difference between landing in Penta and landing on a crash mat.
Yeah, it's different.
It's
so
a completely different experience. It's designed to completely absorb your impact energy, and it's truly designed to preserve the physical form of the athletes with like maximum impact protection.
Yeah.
Of course, that plus the portability makes it just hit a sweet spot where
easy
to use. It's and just super portable for moving from place to place, which you can't do with a crash mat.
Yeah,
you know.
And your partners that you have in different countries, you know my opinion. I love the product.
Sure.
We have used it a lot during the months. Your partners, what they tell you, what are the basic attributes that they like?
Yeah, certainly what we've already touched on. Everybody loves the portability of it. I mean, it literally fits in a suitcase on wheels.
You can go to camps and everything.
Yeah, you can go to camps. You can go, even just private training. There are a couple of coach trainers, privateers in California. And they just love the ability to just have it in the back of their SUV, and they can get a DM from a client, in the morning that says, "Hey, I've got time this afternoon. Can we hit a session?" And they go. And their client Venmos them, and they're good to go. And they,
nice.
And it also affords a strategic advantage for a lot of these early adopter coaches, goalkeeper coaches that are getting, the maximum benefit from utilizing Penta by using it as a marketing tool, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I should also get on the topic of how Penta can be used as a marketing tool.
Okay.
In so much as the cover sheet that goes around, we call it the flex sheet. And of course, this because you have one, that at Play that's got your own branding on it. But we've already been in situations where we've been approached by clubs in order to offset the cost of the asset, the actual equipment.
The equipment, yeah.
They work with one of their beverage sponsors, or they work with one of the team sponsors.
They put the sponsor there
to customize the flex sheet that goes around the Penta, so that whenever it gets deployed somewhere, it's a portable advertising billboard as well
for the sponsors, right?
Yeah, and again, like I said, going back to my days with bag jump in the early days, I mean, it was one of the major breakthroughs for these types of products, in that you can put a Red Bull logo on it, or a Monster Energy drink logo on it, or something like that, where the brands find an immense value in having their logos on these devices, because that's where all the action's happening, right? In training and things of that nature. So I can see a situation into the future where Penta might even just be deployed, 15 minutes before in warm up, right? A lot of the times at the pro level, right? So a lot of the times. If you're traveling and you travel to a new ground, and it's not the ground that you're used to standing on, as a goalkeeper, everything feels different. The grass, the medium that the working surface as a professional that you're working on feels different. And if it rained the night before, or all the different variables, it could be slippery, it could be too dry, right? And to be able to really work, because it's counterintuitive, because the old school way of doing warm-ups pre-game is, don't go too far, don't push yourself too hard, you don't want to injure yourself right before the game. But a lot of the times, goalkeepers, it's that first big shot, or that first big attempt that they make to expand their reach in a game scenario that might pull something on them, right? Like they might not have warmed up properly. They might not feel the medium. They might not feel the grass and the turf the right way, and they might slip, and they might misjudge something. So there is a benefit to to just kind of like drop the Penta out. It runs on a battery, so you literally. One of the other reasons I didn't touch, I should mention, and I didn't touch on that when I was talking about the Penta 5. Yeah. It's up in 5 minutes and down in 5 minutes, right? Or even less. Actually, you would know that. But we say five up and 5 down. So to have it come up in 3 or 5 minutes. Even to train and get, a handful of solid dives so that the athlete can feel the medium under their ground and they know the working surface, the limits that they can work with so that they don't get injured. There's an immense benefit there. And I can see a situation into the future where more and more teams are bringing Pentas along with them to just get a quick session in, a dive session in, to get the athlete really tuned up. Because that's often the case, as a goalkeeper, what happens. You get right before the game, all the midfielders and the strikers stand around the 20-yard box and they nail shots at you, right? Yeah. So, and most of the time you're doing the wrong thing. You're training yourself to not jump for it because you're like, I'm not going to jump for it because we're not in the game, right? And so you don't push yourself even at all of what you could. Just to warm up. In order to possibly handle one of those shots in a game. So again, I'm the product guy. I'm the gear nerd. I don't know all of this, but what I do know, I've seen enough to know that intuitively, and I know enough about the game.
And you get it. Yeah, you get it.
That I think that this is probably one of the directions that it's going to go at the higher levels.
In talking about the future sports,
sure.
The company where is
so what's the kind of grand vision? The grand vision is to change the game, change the percentage of goals that are scored on these set pieces and things of that nature, like goals that are conceded. 33% or more of goals are scored on set pieces.
Okay.
And that's a stat. Like that's the total the game over again, right? So it's like a third of goals are scored on set pieces. So
and you can work with Penta with set pieces.
Of course.
Very good.
Of course. And this is the Beckhams and the Leo Messis of the world who just bend it into the top corner. And it's a lot of the times it's a goalkeeper that their brain is doing the math and they're saying, I'm not going to injure myself.
Yeah.
And it kicks into that fight or flight response and they just freeze. So again, Penta, doing reps on Penta allows you to deprogram your kind of lizard brain so that. And this is why I'm speaking to the vision. Like I want to see a future where goalkeepers are really getting out in front of that, and they're changing that percentage, of goals that are conceded. And the obvious answer is, I want to have every training academy and club, from municipal clubs all the way up to D1 clubs and pro clubs, using and engaging with the product. I will note that I don't want to just typecast my company's brand as a goalkeeper brand, even though we're here sitting and you guys are heavily focused on goalkeeping. Penta has been used for scissor kick training and bicycle kick training and header training.
Yeah.
It really relates to any of those kind of like game winning or game saving maneuvers, those ones that you just, throw it all out there. Like our tagline for Future Sport is go for everything, right?
Okay.
And it doesn't mean go for everything and just be like crazy and silly and just like risk injuring yourself. What it means is be tactical, use Penta and allow yourself to train so that you can go for everything
at the game,
in a game scenario, of course, because we train for the game,
yes,
right?
Of course, yeah.
I like to say instead of no pain, no gain, it's less pain, more train.
More train, okay.
You know what I mean?
That's nice.
So,
that's nice.
So that's kind of the ethos of it, right? And hoping that we get kind of a good product market fit in the football space, in the European football space, soccer space. Certainly, Futuresport as a brand, we have plans. We're trying to be sport neutral, and we have plans to penetrate into other markets like American football. You can imagine, there's a lot of game-winning dives and saves in those other sports, and shortstops in baseball and little league and things of that nature, and believe it or not, even some of the more extreme and obscure team sports like ultimate frisbee and lacrosse and things of that nature. Pretty much any team sport that you can think of, there's generally a repetitive kind of game-winning or game-saving dive maneuver that athletes have to train for.
Yeah, of course.
For the most part. And so, we're hoping to fit Penta into those kind of subcategories in the future. But of course, the by far the largest addressable market at current is going to be football, European football, soccer, the beautiful game. And starting with goalkeepers, because like I say, they're the ones that are taking all the hits right now. You may or may not have remembered it. I think it was a couple of years ago, the famous Dutch goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah.
He collapsed on the beach in Croatia because he had a brain bleed, right? So
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and he was in a really bad way, and he was rushed to hospital. Thankfully he survived. I don't know what his status is like nowadays, but I know it was a big newsworthy thing, and it got me thinking that this is how extreme these guys train. I mean, this guy got this Edwin van der Sar likely got the brain bleed, and I'm no medical doctor, but if you're slamming on your shoulder for 20 years, this is like a boxer. This is like Muhammad Ali getting hit in the head,
American football,
time over time. So I don't think it's a coincidence that an athlete of his caliber that has trained as aggressively without, say, a Penta or without some kind of device that can save his brain health and his cognition.
Because we don't have that information.
We don't.
That days.
No, we didn't, and we don't. And,
right now,
it's coming to light, right?
We can prevent
exactly.
That.
So, and this is kind of my message to junior goalkeepers and parents of junior goalkeepers and aspiring goalkeepers is start early with the preservation of your body.
Yeah.
Me and you were in our 40s. We know.
Yeah.
And I was a small goalkeeper once upon a time before I became like, crazy inflatable dude. Yeah, exactly. Wacky waving inflatable man. But yeah, I certainly know the pain and the rigors that goalkeepers go through. And of course, with this experience with Futuresport and Penta, I've been on the training grounds. I've seen what's happening, and I know how much it can help with, body preservation, athlete wellness, and, and as I touched on, concussion prevention and brain health, right? We are doing some work with sports scientists that use the catapult system. And there's an accelerometer built in the catapult system that we're allowed to, it allows us to measure not only the increase in the dive height and length of the athlete, the impact as well.
Wow.
So, and we do know, generally speaking, that we're cutting the impact by almost 75% on the human body when they're landing, and in some cases it's more because it's based on the weight of the athlete and the amplitude of their dive curve. So in some cases we can reduce it up to 80 or more %. Mm-hmm. And when you start to quantify that over the lifespan of an athlete, the younger you want to start is the better. So
perfect.
We're certainly hopeful that we can help athletes not duplicate the experience that somebody like Edwin van der Sar went through.
I have to tell you, for me, the first time that we saw you I know you since Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, we met at the coaches convention in Philadelphia.
The first time that I see it, I didn't understand it. So I
hear that a lot.
I get back in the hotel. I was in the hotel. Let me see the the web page.
Sure.
And then I start seeing, and most like instantly, I get that, okay, I can use it this way, this way, this way,
Sure.
this way, this way, this way.
Well, because you're a coach, right?
Yeah.
So
the first of all, I have to congratulate you because you have a great product, and great products always make a mess in the market.
Okay.
A lot of people gonna love it. A lot of people gonna hate it.
Sure. Let's go.
If you see it with my eyes, at the first time I didn't get it. I was like, why don't I need this?
Yeah.
Afterwards that I study and I see my students using it was like, yes. I have like in the mind 20, 30 exercise, how we're going to use it, different ages.
Yeah.
So I think that every product like yourself that is this restructured in a old school market.
Yeah. The dinosaur club.
You have to understand that goalkeeper training is new. They have I don't know, 20 years. But when I was younger, I didn't train as a goalkeeper.
No.
Even in college, I didn't.
You just took shots.
I didn't have any training. Yeah. We train ourselves, my friends and I, but we don't have a coach. Right. So these new guys that maybe they can hear us, they understand that we need gadgets. The players use gadgets. We also need gadgets to help us understand, help us produce the best goalkeepers at a high level. So for doing that, congratulations.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Please tell our audience, where can I find Penta or Furtsports?
Yeah. Website is futuresport.com.
FUTR Sports.
Yes. We truncated the word future for the purposes of getting a trademark registered. So it's FUTRSPORT.com. So phonetically, it's Futuresport, but it's spelled slightly differently for trademark purposes.
Yeah, of course. Also, Play Sports Academy.
Yeah, exactly. And the Instagram handle is at the same word, Futuresport.
Futuresport.
FUTRSPORT. So hit me up on the Instagram. I'm happy to, or send a message through our website. I'm happy to field any questions and talk to any coaches or parents.
It will be great that in your website you put like a map this academy has here, so all the keepers that are here in it, go try that academy for you. You can use the Penta.
Yeah. We certainly plan on doing that, and looking forward to getting Penta out to the world for sure.
Oh, perfect. So, Bryan, thank you being here with us in Play Sports Academy in Monterrey. It's an honor.
Yeah.
Right now we're gonna go out and see the fields and the training.
Absolutely.
And
hopefully we're gonna get some tacos as well.
Some tacos also.
Okay. Amazing.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
See you in the next opportunity. Figuras, nos vemos la siguiente vez. Preguntas que tengan para Bryan nos mandan en redes sociales. Bryan, thank you again.
Ciao.
Ciao.